from America's finest city. This is Real Talk San Diego on ESPN 1700.
Pop, pop, pop. What's happening, gang? You are back live in the Secret Stash. We got you locked down here for the 11 to 12 o'clock hour, tracking down some cool local people, talking about some cool local stuff. I think this is kind of cool when we talk about real estate stuff. This is definitely more germane to what we do, as co-founders down at the Greenhouse Group, helping folks get into and out of homes and financing them in between and moving those people with purpose. You can catch us right down here in the heart of San Diego. Or if you want to do a little seeing, like snooping, see what people talking about us behind our backs and stuff, you might be able to see that conversation taking place live at thegreenhousegroupinc.com. Now, about once a month, I give a little call. I don't know why it's a little call. Mm-hmm. I'll give it the average size call to my business partner, Jeremy Beck, who is a mortgage planner extraordinaire and holds down, you might say, the id to my superego at the Greenhouse Group, helping folks finance homes. That's your specialty. And we want to try to get like a State of the Union style. So like, what would you call it? Like State of the San Diego market update, about once a month, right?
That sounds reasonable.
Seeing what's going on with the numbers and the trends and the stuff like this. And so that's this show, gang. So you're lucky and you're welcome that I've got my man Jeremy to lead us through this, the myriad, the path, find the path of the righteous, to be able to get your clarity on whether you are trying to get into a home right now in the now August month coming up, or whether you're trying to get out of a home right now. This could be a good time for you to move. Or there's still options for folks just to finance and stay put, like refinances and stuff. You still seeing a lot of that stuff?
All the time, yeah.
Absolutely. So first of all, Jeremy, how would you introduce or explain yourself to your fan base?
Well, I think Mortgage Planner Extraordinaire was a pretty nice title. The MPE. I haven't dropped that on my signature line yet, but that might be next.
Yeah.
Yeah, we use that phrase mortgage planning because we go a little extra step. One of the first things we do with anybody is meet with them for an hour for free in our office, put together a plan to make sure it even makes sense to move forward. So, none of that call me, give me your social and your birth date, and we'll see if we can get you a loan. It means more than that.
Holding true to the Real Talk Radio San Diego brand. Let's get right into this. So the monthly stats came out. Now we're a little clear about maybe, and numbers are always representative of a little bit of a laggard, so like, because we're actually in this conversation in real time, we can kind of see what the trends are going on with helping our own clients, and then we can kind of paint a picture that helps tell the story once it's sort of codified with the numbers in arrears. But one of the things that you and I do, you might say most, like the category of folks we help the most are first-time buyers, first-time sellers.
Yeah.
And this is still leading the market right now. It's over a majority of the transactions last month, again, were first-time home buyers. And it's interesting to kind of get into the psychology a little bit of the first-time home buyer. Now, I'm intrigued by the stat, and I want to share it with you, Stash Nation, to see if you have anything that comes up for you. And by the way, speaking of coming up for you, we're streaming live right now on the Meerkat app. If you want to go over to Meerkat and plug in our handle, our Twitter handle is Follow the Stash. Ask myself any real estate related question. Ask Jeremy any mortgage planning related question. We'd love to to get your question here answered live on the air. But home ownership, Jer, 81% of renters said that they would prefer to own their home if they could afford to do so.
I saw that. It was a cool stat.
It's interesting, though, right? Now, why is it interesting to you?
Well, first of all, that's a lot of people. And what I find is that most people can buy but don't. So if 81% of the renters want to buy a home, what are they waiting on?
Well, you're almost setting yourself up for your own knockdown.
Here it comes.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah. So basically what happens is I find that people do a little bit of research online. And as you can probably have experience doing stuff online, you can find any answer in any direction. And I think people come to me with some misconceptions about what it's going to take in terms of down payment, in terms of how much money they need to qualify, in terms of what payment really is. Just across the board, just not knowing, but afraid to walk into a bank and fill out an application. And so that's what holds them back, instead of coming and talking to a professional like us and saying, hey, I don't know if I'm ready to buy, but what would it look like?
You're saying something right now. I don't know if you've ever heard me say this, because I just heard this last week and I absolutely love it. So I'm probably going to butcher the exact science of how it was told to me, but a loan officer at a bank will issue you a pre-approval. That pre-approval will expire in 30, sometimes 60 days.
Yeah.
Okay? A mortgage planner offers a strategy that remains good throughout.
That's interesting.
And I love that distinction because, and that's something I think that a lot of people don't appreciate when they're thinking about going to buy a home, because they think of the mortgage as a necessary evil. Something that's like they want the house and they're like, oh, okay, I got to go get the loan real quick. And then they find themselves talking to a person who's really just a glorified order taker, who's doesn't have necessarily the experience or the advantage or the purview of the wisdom to be able to actually chart that course based on that client's very unique situation, right? Economically and otherwise, goals, all that stuff, and then come up with a mortgage plan that can survive any loan that you happen to place them with, which best fits their scenario.
Yeah.
Huge distinction, is it not?
Yeah. In fact, a very nice lady called me yesterday. Talked to her for about a half an hour on the phone. And what she was perplexed by was the idea that every realtor that she talked to wanted her to go get pre-approved first. And she's like, I've never done that before. I found the home and then I went and got a loan. And I understand the desire to do that because you almost feel like, oh, that gives you the best opportunity to not have to have. But the truth is that it robs the person who's trying to help you of the time that you should be taking to craft the best plan.
Yeah.
So maybe a guy sitting in the bank would love to do that for people, but they don't approach them early enough either. So I don't want to say that that's necessarily like a bad model, but you're right. The predominant model, the traditional model, is just give me your numbers and I'll tell you what you can afford and see you later.
And spit something out.
Yeah.
Right.
Call me back in 30 days or it expires.
I love that thought. So a couple stats maybe to chew on a little bit and see if you can, reveal any understanding through this stuff. But 55% of the people polled, and by the way, this is from Ipsos, which is I guess a research firm. 55% of the people polled thought homeownership was a good achievement to be proud of. 42% thought it would be a good way to acquire equity, and 32% said, "Wait for it, a dream come true." I don't know about that.
Realtors love that phrase.
Slide it a little bit there. But here, as lofty as that is, this is some stuff to chew on a little bit more. This has got more teeth in it. When you think about the Federal Reserve did a study of economic well-being, okay? While 72% of people would simply prefer just to own, they also 43% responded and said, of course, there's fewer rules. And then 23%, I can resonate with this, don't like to move at all.
Sure.
Right? So that's a lot of it. But here's the key, though. 44% agreed that it allows you to build equity. 41%, which, by the way, this is a really low number, said it's cheaper than renting. Mm-hmm. And if you actually do the math right now with where the rates are, and you do the whole like tax advantage and all the stuff, forget about all the right brain, feely, mushy stuff. I challenge that number, but we'll punt for that for another platform. And here's the key, though. When you think about median home equity versus median cash savings, okay?
This is my favorite stat right here.
I'm waiting. I crescendoed for you.
Yeah.
$80,000 is the median amount of home equity that a homeowner has. $80,000.
Which is kind of like money in the stock market. It's not real, but it's available to you should you sell.
Right, and it's about net worth, which is really what this is riffing on. Here's the other key. The average cash on hand, $7,300. Mm-hmm. Any guess what that looks like when compared with the renter? Of course, because you got no home equity when you're a renter, because you're not building, and your money's not really going anything. $800. Mm-hmm. Now, what does that tell you? Does that just say that homeowners are richer?
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that's part of it, actually. And stats are really, people who are wealthy are going to own homes. So that's going to play into this. We're talking about median stuff. So you got to kind of factor in some of that. But when you look at median, the middle mark of cash savings for renters at $800, dang, man, that's significantly different.
And I would even challenge that because I know where you're going with it from the mortgage planning perspective. You see it all the time. Some people just can't qualify for mortgages.
Sure.
Other people can, and they eventually be homeowners. But it's about the habits and the characteristics of that person. You have a tendency to save more when you're in that mindset. I remember when I was a renter, I didn't even know where my meal was coming from, let alone get groceries.
I remember those days.
You know what I mean? So it's you might even say it like it's an epistemology that sort of transcends. Once you make that commitment, you gain that responsibility, things change. And also life events change. Like sometimes you'll get shacked up with a significant other and then kids come along and stuff. And that's all kind of part of that same story.
Sounds like you're talking about something personal.
I could be. But the truth is, Jared, this is all setting up right now for coming up. So we got a little bit of math, okay? So we sprinkled a little bit of consciousness on Stash Nation here on our monthly State of the Union for real estate, San Diego style anyway. But here's where the rubber's going to meet the road, okay? We're going to talk about millennials and the reason why they're not buying right now and how this could go down in history as one of the biggest blunders or financial mistakes in normal evolution of net worth growth. I know that's a loaded statement, but coming up right after this, we're
I'll
going to
think about that during the break.
In the Stash, you guys. I appreciate you guys for hanging out. Stash Nation, Real Talk Radio San Diego. We're going to get deep into this. We'll be right back.